All right, well, welcome back, everyone. I'm finally going to address a guy who posted the comment in my comment section. Like, I create this gay pride video, and all these people come forward to attack me, dogpiling on me constantly. I don't understand. Like, I have made anti-SJW content in the past, and I stopped doing that because I realized that it was throwing the argument or empowering the wrong types of people. And even though there's some anti-SJW sort of stuff that I still kind of agree with, I kind of like the idea of calling them woke scolds. Like I said, obviously, like, that type of content was appealing to a demographic that I don't wish to appeal to, and I have disassociated myself from that. I think it's really weird when I talk about, and throughout the entire time of making anti-SJW videos, I have constantly reaffirmed my leftist positions. I want more taxation to improve social safety nets. I do. That's not a secret. I support abortion rights, women's reproductive rights, total egalitarianism. Egalitarianism for LGBTQ plus people, egalitarianism for women, egalitarianism for people of color. I've always supported that. That's even when I was doing the anti-SJW stuff, I reiterated that because it's like, look, I don't. There's very the anti-SJW stuff. There's very specific things that I was talking about. Very specific. Like, I still am very pro free speech. That's why I'm not going through my comments and deleting or blocking people, even though they're saying things that are pretty rancid. Things that I'm glad, happy to have a conversation with somebody that is opposite of the position I am, or has a different position than I do. I don't have a problem discussing these things. What I think is weird is when people, like, it's almost like being punished for talking about things that I do support. Like, almost like there's a constituents of the audience that really wants me to only cover things that they want me to cover, not things that I actually support. And then the thing is that that's a weird concept in and of itself, because I've supported this stuff. I mean, I've supported, like, LGBTQ people. The only thing that and admittedly, on the non-binary thing, I misunderstood it. It took Cassandra explaining to me what non-binary people were, because I didn't understand what they were saying. I thought, I did not know anybody actually out there, literally, like, I'm thinking in my mind, we grow up, we become adults, people stop giving a shit. They're like, people are just people. I don't really give a shit if you're a dude and you're wearing, like, sweatpants that say juicy on the ass, like pink sweatpants that say juicy. The fact is, if they're comfortable and you want to wear them, you wear them. And you stop giving a shit when you get older. This is for boys, this is for girls. You don't fucking care anymore. So it's weird to me. Like, the notion that there are people out there that might look at something and go, that looks really cool, I want that. And then it's like, oh, but that's for girls. And they're like, oh, that sucks, I can't get it now. I don't realize that people actually think this way. Like, to me, like, I thought it was just a pretty established norm that majority of people tend to just be who they want to be and are who they are. And they don't really consistently go around worrying or wondering, is what I'm doing feminine? Is it masculine? Or what this crap even means, or do they even care? The fact of the matter is like, this term did not exist in the past. I mean, maybe it did somewhere. Maybe there's something like academic. Maybe somebody wrote a book and it used this term. But when I came out and got into the LGBT, back then it was just LGBT. We didn't do the QIA plus stuff, but all those people were there. When I came out and I joined, my people, and interacted with the community, nobody used this term non-binary. Nobody called themselves that. Nobody called other people that. And then when it occurred to me what they were referring to when non-binary is, I have ex-boyfriends that are non-binary. It's just that nobody referred to them as this. We used to just consider them to be unique individual people. Like that, this is just, it was a form of individual self-expression, and that's it. Like they're just, that's when this person expresses themselves as an individual, that's what you get. And no further questions. Nobody cared. Nobody delved any deeper or anything like that. So I misunderstood. I literally thought there were people out there, and this is probably following the brainwash crap, and a mistake on my own part. But I literally thought that, like, you have a penis and you have vagina, and I thought these people were saying there's something beyond those two, beyond Klinefelters and the other condition. I forget what it's called. I thought that they were literally trying to say there's like 32,000 different things other than a penis and a vagina. When Cassandra explained to me that no, when they say gender, they're talking about expressions of masculinity and femininity, and at that very moment, I was like, oh, well, that's like, and apparently this offends some people. I don't know why, but I'm like, well, that's like everybody has masculine and feminine traits. Everybody. I don't care who you are. Everybody does to some level and degree. Everybody. It just, I've never known anybody that's made a big deal out of that. Ever. So to me, like, gender and biological sex for me has always been interchangeable. It's just, it's weird to me that there are people out there that literally are like, okay, biologically, I'm a male. And then here's all this list of things that I have to do to present myself as masculine to fit this role because of the fact that I'm a biological male. The fact that people like that exist is weird to me. Weird. Really weird. So I retracted that. I made a video retracting it, going like, I completely misunderstood what this was. Like, now that I understand, I don't have any issue with non-binary people. Some of my exes are non-binary. I don't have an issue at all with it. A lot of the people, like, I don't think that they're bad people. I think they're good people at heart. I think, when somebody presents some of the concerns that were presented to me, it's like, if I were to believe that this were real, yes, these are very scary things if you think they're real. I don't think they're real. There's no evidence that they are. When you start investigating these things, it's like, like drag queen story time has been a thing since 2015. Why has it only recently been a problem? Yeah, I mean, and then you look up for like drag queen story times where like it's gone horribly awry, and it isn't there. It isn't there. There might be like 1 or 2 cases, and those have been taken care of. It just isn't there. So I mean, even if something isn't occurring, when someone thinks that it is, and I think that's a lot of the point of these right-wing pundits that are commentators on social media is I think that's the goal, is to make you think that these things are happening, because if that were really happening, then yes, that would be very, very concerning and something would need to be done about it. And you wouldn't hear me complaining about it. Like, absolutely. If somebody is doing something horrible to children, then you have my full support in bringing the law and having adjudication and legal interference to make that stop. Absolutely. But I think you should do it on an individual basis and not gross overgeneralize and think just because one person or 2 people did it, then that's the entire thing. So, I mean, that's a legitimate concern, although I think that legitimate concern is based off of fear-mongering propaganda, meant to confuse you, meant to make you think that it is a much bigger problem than it really isn't. It's like maybe 1 or 2 cases out of like thousands. I think that's the goal of those right-wing commentators, is to do that, so that's frustrating. So I mean, like, you be mad at me for making leftist content, but I've never kept this a secret. I am a leftist. I am pro LGBTQ. I am very, very, very pro egalitarian, very, very pro humanitarian, very much these things. So it's really weird making leftist content and having a bunch of people dogpile on me like, I'm going to make leftist content. You should know that. This shouldn't be surprising to you at all. Period. Okay. So this guy, after I make this Pride Day video, and I was bringing up, I saw an article I saw, okay, that they're going to take this and they're going to run with it for a mile. They're going to twist and contort this into something that it isn't. And I wanted to cut it off at the chase. Looks like it's not picking up a lot of traction, but if it does, I have made a video already debunking it before it's even gone anywhere. Thank goodness. So this person comments in my comment section and says this.
Hi, hetero proud here. Can my people do the same things you all get to do? Can we push things down people's throats and then complain when they don't like it? We want equality. Why don't you?
Okay. So here's what I have to say to that person is that, okay, so you think somehow LGBTQ people have some kind of privilege. I would love to know what that privilege is because I need to cash in on it. I'm not, drowning in privilege here, especially when I get dogpiled on by like, I don't know how many people saying all these things to me. I think you have to have a pretty thick skin to have that many people saying that many derogatory things at you all at once. It's actually kind of intense. So I think you have to have a pretty thick skin to do that. I don't think everybody can do what I do that. I really don't. So yeah, I mean, at some point, I do have to turn it off and ignore it because it's too much, and I got shit to do. I don't have all day. I got shit to do. So so this guy is saying, I'm gonna pull it up so I can go through it piece by piece. Hold on just a second. Okay, so hetero and proud here. That's great that you're proud to be heterosexual. That's great. Yeah, and I don't think anyone is telling you cannot be proud to be heterosexual. That's fantastic. I mean, it's good because when you're heterosexual and you're cis heterosexual, you don't you're not going to encounter some things I'm about to talk about. Can my people do the same things that we do? What do we do that you don't? What, you want a pride parade? I mean, I thought that's kind of what Mardi Gras was. I mean, and I'm going to get into some things too that are going to impress why what being LGBTQ is not some kind of higher up to being heterosexual. It's not. It's not. No. You're not persecuted for being straight. That's ridiculous, and I'm going to explain why. Can we push things down people's throats and then complain when they don't like? Well, yeah, heterosexual people already do that. Look at my comment section under that video. That's what that is. We don't want that. It's this. We don't want you to be open about it. We don't want you to be in public space about it. We don't want you to talk that way. We don't want you to act that way. This behind the closed doors thing, it seems to include it all encompassing. Holding hands, public displays of affection. I mean, I saw an article the other day. There was a lesbian couple. This woman, she got a sperm donor, so she doesn't even know the guy. But I suppose there's something that they tell her about the donor. But she carried this child to term and gave birth to it, and she lost custody. That's messed up. That's messed up. She gave she carried this child and gave birth to it. It's supposed to be her child, and the state comes in and takes it. And it's a sperm donor. It's like the whole idea behind that is you donating sperm to a sperm bank, you give them their sperm, some information about you, and you don't have anything. You don't have to do anything. You're not responsible. It's for people who want to have families. Maybe in a heterosexual dynamic that the male is infertile, so you would get like a sperm donation. But yeah, heterosexual people complain all the time when LGBTQIA plus people do not conform to that all the time. And I want equality. I do. Straight people, they can have kids, and when I think an LGBTQIA plus couple wants kids, they should be able to as well. But a lot of times they are forbidden, or there's laws restricting them so much that so many hoops you have to jump through, it's almost impossible. Or the fact that as a heterosexual you can kiss in public. Try doing that as somebody who's LGBTQ and see what happens. Do it at a CPAC conference. Do it at a CPAC conference. Kiss a dude at a CPAC conference and see what happens. You might have to run. You might have to. I don't know. But you'll see very, very, very quickly. Kissing your wife in public and then being a man kissing your husband or your boyfriend in public, very different reaction. I would like common law marriage. That would be equality. That would be great. Me and my partner, we've been together for 10 years. I think that qualifies as common law. Power of attorney. Because we've been together for 10 years, that'd be nice. I don't think we have that. there's a law in one of the surrounding cities to me that stipulates that two people cannot live under the same roof unless they are related by blood or marriage. They passed that law saying that it was supposed to help with the homeless problem. I have no idea how you make that jump. Does the complete opposite of that. And it's very big government too to do that, because you're basically telling a homeowner that has an empty room that rents it out to people who are attending a local college here that they can't do that, which is beneficial to the student because it's cheaper to rent a room out of some suburbanite's house than it is to rent an apartment. And there's no dorms there, so forget that. So that law that was passed is an old law that they used to use to keep LGBTQ plus people from living together. That's what that is. Thank goodness it didn't pass in the part that I live in. Then I may not be able to live with my partner anymore. So that's not equality, is it? So yeah, I'd like equality. I would like that very much. So let me explain. As a heterosexual person, have you ever been told by a doctor that you're disgusting, you're gross, that it's a phase to be heterosexual, and that if you don't grow out of it, you're going to get a disease and you're going to die at age 15? Because that's happened to me. At age 15, I had a doctor. He told me that it's a phase and that I would eventually grow out of it, and that if I didn't, I was going to get HIV and I was going to die. Have you ever gone through that as a heterosexual person? And I got to tell you, that happened when I was 15. And back then, when I was 15, that was perfectly acceptable. There's nothing I could do about it. Nothing. I just had to put up with it or go see another doctor. I think I ended up going and seeing another doctor. I found a doctor who was a lesbian and started seeing her. Because that's another thing. Back when I was younger, at that time, you wanted a doctor that would not put on your medical record that you were a homosexual, because the insurance company saw you as a liability, that you were high risk. If you caught any STD at all, period, they would not cover you. Doesn't matter if it was HIV, doesn't matter if it was syphilis, gonorrhea, herpes, whatever. They wouldn't cover it because you were homosexual. You deserved it. So seeing a lesbian doctor, she wouldn't put that on your record, knowing that the insurance companies would do this. Again, that's not equality, but I've also been told that gross, disgusting phase, you're going to grow out of it. If you don't, you're going to get HIV and you're going to die. I was also told that by other parents. I was also told that by teachers in my school. Where else would that be? But automatically accused when I was in school that I was having sex with older men. That wasn't true. So did you go through that as a heterosexual? Did they automatically accuse you of having sex with older women? Did they say if you didn't stop, you were going to get an STD and die? Did they call you gross and disgusting because you had sex with women if you did? Forget talking about contraceptive like condoms or anything. Like, no, you're going to die. Did parents tell you that? And the thing is like growing up in this society, like I'm old enough, it's like that's kind of the overall message, is that you need to do everything you can to not do this. Like, you need to get out of this phase. You need to stop being homosexual. You need to stop being gay, start dating women. You really need to do this. And believe me, I tried. That doesn't work too well. That was a very embarrassing moment. I mean, hard thing to address, really, for that person's sake. But I mean, for me, it was just sort of an awakening moment. This is not something I can control, and I need to accept that. So hopefully, you didn't have to go through that with another man, if you are indeed a man, or a woman if you are indeed a woman, whatever it is you identify as. So yeah, this is absolutely the case. Like, what are you talking about? Like, throughout my entire life, especially coming out of the closet, this has been the overall message: is you need to stop being a homosexual immediately, and you need to be straight. You need to be a man. Which was weird. Like, I already identified as that, so I don't know why they would say that. Just, I mean, weird. But let me ask you this: have you ever been chased by an SUV full of LGBTQ plus people with baseball bats for being straight? Has that ever happened to you? Have you ever gone through that as a heterosexual? I'm just curious, because I mean, when I was about 17 years old, I was driving around with a friend of mine, a female, and there was this SUV of college dudes, and she thought that they were quite attractive. And You know, I conceded to that yeah, they were. Didn't say, you know, she waved at them, hi, 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 hi. That's when the window rolled down and they yelled, and I can't say it on YouTube, even though I'm gay and I you know, I'll have a video pulled, but they yelled the F word at me. And they followed us for quite some ways. They had their baseball bats hanging out the window. Yeah, you know, this is gay bashing. Okay, this is what was known as gay bashing. That's what they were out to do. Followed us to a parking lot. My friend, I almost said her name. I'm trying not to say her name. You know, she no need to drag her into any of it. But she opened the door, the car door, and you know they want me out of the car. Luckily, I had a '79 Monte Carlo, and it's like I don't care if you're in an SUV. And in the late '90s, early 2000s, you're not going to beat a '79 Monte Carlo. That thing was a tank. And went from 0 to like, oh my god, I don't even know how fast that thing went. The speedometer only went. I don't remember it, but whatever the speedometer went up, it went faster than that. Like I could get the car to go all the way up to its where the speedometer went, and it would circle back around. I mean, the thing was a beast. I ended up taking off and you know, knocked over a fire hydrant, and it there's a piece of plastic that went around one of the headlights, and that's the only damage it did was it cracked that plastic. That thing was a tank. Oddly, there was no water gushing out. I don't know why, but I did knock that fire hydrant over. I did. And I would have been happy to report this to the police and say, like, look, I was running from an SUV full of, like, I don't know how many guys were in here. These are big, muscular dudes from like college, and I'm just 17, young guy, and you know, in my mind, I'm just running for my life, and went around a corner too fast and lost him and hit a fire hydrant and knocked it over. Didn't mean to. But I'm pretty sure, like, I just had it in the back of my mind that they're not going to care that I'm running from a car full of guys that are shouting F word bundle of sticks, cigarette at me, talking about wanting me to get out of the car so they can beat me with a bunch of baseball bats. No. So I just didn't say anything, and sorry, the city had to pay for that. I felt bad, but I was running for my life. Have you ever experienced that as a heterosexual? Have you ever checked out a female, like a car full of females that just started chasing you with basically deadly weapons as a teenager, as a heterosexual? Just because you're heterosexual? Has it ever happened to you? I'd be willing to bet not. And I got to say, on the STD thing, like I said, this has been said to me by other parents, been said to me by teachers, by peers, by doctors. I got to tell you, I came out of the closet when I was 15, and I'm like 40 now. I have never had an STD, not one, not a single one. I've never even got crabs. Okay, never had a single one my entire life. So I'd love to go back to that doctor and say, guess what? You are so full of shit. You know, and them saying that to me over and over and over again, that really got in my head, and I can't tell you how terrified I was at times. Not healthy. So I mean, I could tell you the story about this. There's this older guy that I knew of. He he had a partner that he was with for many years, much older than me, and his partner ended up dying from stomach cancer. And his partner was disowned by his family. So like I think he died of stomach cancer from the stomach cancer when he was like in his, I think it was in his 40s. And so the partner that lived, the one that I talked to. So like this guy had not spoken to anyone in his family at all, period, since he was, I think, about 15. And went from living with his parents, coming out at 15, and then living on the streets, and you know, eventually meets the guy that I would talk to, and they were together for many years, and then you know, gets stomach cancer and is dying, and the mom just suddenly comes out of the woodwork and claims her dying son's assets that she disowned and has had nothing to do with for years. I mean, a long time. And because at that time, gay couples were not recognized, there was no gay marriage on the table, there was no civil union, nothing. He technically wasn't even allowed to be in the room with his partner who was dying. She comes in, she seizes all the assets. Well, guess what? They shared a bank account, and about 50% of that income that was in there, I think 75%, actually, 75% of the income actually belonged to the guy who was still alive. And she was entitled to like 50% of that income. So the income that she was going to be taking wasn't even that of the dying son that she had nothing to do with. It belonged to the other one. Because as a gay person, you had no power of attorney. And so what the living one ended up doing is closing the account. So no one got any money because he thought it was absolutely disgusting that she didn't even care that her own son was dying. The only thing she cared about was getting the money, getting the assets. She was just going to take the assets and leave. She didn't go and visit him in the hospital or anything. And she continued to talk about her own dying son dying from cancer in a foul way. How disgusting and depraved of a human being do you have to be to do that? Have you ever gone through that as a heterosexual? Just curious. Are there really people sitting there telling you that you have to be gay? You have to be LGBTQ? Has anyone actually ever told you that? Because I really doubt that. I'm not telling you to do that. I don't want you to be LGBTQ. I don't really care that you're straight. I don't care. That's cool. It's cool that you have pride for it. I'm not against having a straight pride either. I think it misses the point though, because straight people, heterosexual men, have not been systemically denied basic civil rights, civil liberties. I mean, that's not a thing. Society has not told you that you can't be with the person that you want to be with because you love her, as long as it's mutually consensual. That's not been a thing. Let's see, what else? I've been denied access to events, been pulled aside. Sorry, but you're gay and stuff, so you can't come. Heterosexual people are welcome to Pride. You can come to Pride. You can. No one's saying you can't. So yeah, I want equality. I do. I don't think we have it though. I mean equality. I mean, I think LGBTQ people, whatever straight people can do, heterosexual people, heterosexual cis people, whatever they can do, I think LGBTQ people should be able to do as well. Yeah. Including, especially in the case that I opened the video with the lesbian woman who carried a child to term and then had the state come in and take it away. Actually, here, let's take a quick look at that.
Sarah Watson's voice brims with emotion when she recalls the moment she and partner Anna Ford found out they were pregnant. The Rhode Island couple had been trying to conceive for 2.5 years, minus turning to in vitro fertilization as hope dwindled, when they finally got the news that rocked their world. "I can't say there is anything I could have wanted more than being a parent," Watson said. "I can't even describe it. We were over the moon." Start the day smarter. Get all the news you need in your inbox each morning. But Watson's bliss soon came crashing into reality even before she left the hospital. She learned that as an unmarried LGBTQ, non-birth parent, she had no legal connection to son Eli beyond the embryo she helped create, and no straightforward path to establish that tie. "It completely snowballed over any sort of joy that I had after my son was born," she said. Watson's experience is not unique. A new report from 5 national groups that advocate for LGBTQ families shows that nearly half of all states, 24 lack clear and equitable ways for LGBTQ couples to establish legal rights as parents. And nearly 1 in 3 LGBTQ adults in the U.S. are raising children under the age of 18, many in states with outdated, incomplete, and confusing parentage laws, says the report from the Movement Advancement Project, MAP, GLAAD, Family Equality, Coolidge, and NCLR. The result: too many children are at risk, said Naomi Goldberg, deputy director of MAP, a think tank that researches LGBTQ issues and laws. "We know that when parents haven't established that legal connection and they are not recognized, a lot of things can happen. There are the day-to-day things like picking up your kid from daycare, signing a permission slip, or making a medical decision," Goldberg said. "But there are also these bigger moments when crisis happens and you want to be sure you have the ability to stay connected to the child." State of emergency: LGBTQ Americans given dire warning from Human Rights Campaign. Increased urgency to update laws since Dobbs. The issue of the legal parent-child relationship has taken on increased urgency for LGBTQ couples since the Supreme Court's Dobbs decision a year ago that overturned Roe v. Wade, leaving many concerned that established rights such as same-sex marriage are on shaky ground, Goldberg said. And just as there are many ways that children join families, including LGBTQ families, there are different routes to establishing parentage, the report notes. But no matter how children became part of families, states need to update parentage laws to assure all children are legally connected to those who parent them, Goldberg said. When these protections don't exist, kids are ultimately the ones who bear the impact of not having a consistent caregiver and being cut off from someone who has been parenting them, she said. Both of these kids have my egg. Watson signed mountains of consent forms during the assisted reproduction process and consulted a lawyer who thought she would be able to sign a voluntary acknowledgement of parentage, VAP, a simple form that is the equivalent of a court judgment of parentage minus at the hospital when Eli was born. But Watson learned that while unmarried different-sex couples had access to the VAP process in Rhode Island at the time, same-sex couples did not. She would embark on a grueling 8-month ordeal, including home visits by a social worker, before gaining a legal connection to Eli, now 6, who loves trains, Legos, and anything involving mud. The couple even had to place an ad in the newspaper to notify the anonymous sperm donor of the pending adoption in case he wanted to mount a challenge, despite signing away his rights at the sperm bank, she said. The whole process felt extremely invasive, Watson said. And we were frankly really worried that anybody could have shown up at the courthouse and prevented us from adopting our kid. The couple now have a second son, Jacob, born in 2021, and by then Rhode Island had updated its parentage laws so Watson was able to easily sign a VAP. The different paths to legal parenthood were astonishing, she said. Both of these kids have my egg and a donor's DNA. I am literally the same parent of these two genetically identical beings. We can't talk to you. We have to talk to the mother. Denise and Stephanie Ocasio-Gonzalez started dating in 2010 when Stephanie's son Javin was 3 years old. Javin and Denise bonded almost immediately, Stephanie said, with park adventures, McDonald's visits, ice cream outings, and a passion for wrestling. She was almost like a big kid herself, Stephanie said. She bought him his first bike. She was there for his first day of kindergarten and for every first day of school after that. But most of all, I'm human. These 3 transgender teens prove identity stretches beyond one label. Even after the Connecticut couple married in 2014, they were reminded at schools and elsewhere of the tenuous legal connection Denise had to Javin. You raised this child, you took care of this child, you bandaged boo-boos, you gave kisses, good night. You put a roof over this child's head, you put food in this child's stomach. And then you have to be told, oh, we can't talk to you. We have to talk to the mother, Stephanie said. The couple researched adoption options, but the process was costly and time-consuming, she said. We hoped our marriage, our dedication to each other and Denise's dedication to Javin would be enough, she said. The two wanted to keep building their family, and after some fertility challenges, Stephanie gave birth to their second child, Destiny. It was a tumultuous time. Stephanie had a challenging pregnancy, and Denise was injured in a car accident. They paused plans for a second parent adoption of Destiny by Denise so they could heal. But the question always lurked, Stephanie said, why should Denise have to endure so many legal hoops to be recognized as a parent for children they were raising? They decided to fight back, manning the front lines of a successful push to get Connecticut to update its parentage laws. In January 2022, they signed a VAP securing legal protection for Destiny, now 4. Securing the legal tie between Denise and Javin, now 16, under the Connecticut Parentage Act is in the works, Stephanie said. He was planned. He's my son. Cam Thompson and her partner were going to marry before the son they planned for was born. Parenthood was something we were super excited about, she said. But Daniel arrived prematurely in 2016, and the Massachusetts couple tied the knot 3 days after his birth. When Daniel was 2, the state's Department of Children and Families abruptly removed Daniel from their home and placed him in foster care after unfounded claims of domestic violence between the couple, Thompson said. That is when Thompson ran smack into the state's parentage laws as the non-birth, LGBTQ parent, and she wasn't able to see her son for 2 months. They looked at me like I was a stranger, she said. I wasn't privy to any court dates or independent visits. LGBTQ identification, Gen Z is driving force among adults identifying as LGBTQ, poll shows. Here's a breakdown. Thompson's first visit with Daniel during the ordeal was around his 3rd birthday. She recalls the heart-wrenching moment her little boy entered the room and he sees me and you can see the confusion. He has kind of forgotten me, but then it's like I know this person. You can see it on his face. With the help of an attorney, Thompson was finally recognized as Daniel's legal parent. But the process would drag on for 18 months. You have to learn your own kid all over again, she said. The couple now share time with Daniel, now 7, a happy boy who relishes video games and watching movies, she said. Massachusetts has pending legislation to update its parentage laws, and Thompson said it's long overdue for the other Daniels in her state. He was planned. He's my son. We've got to protect the kids and the parent-kid relationship. This article originally appeared on USA Today.
All right, so I'd love to know. No, I really wouldn't love to know because it's just going to be a bunch of annoying words. You know what? Like the heterosexual community has already been doing that to the LGBTQ people. It's absolutely been saying, like, what was it? Is this the heterosexual community has been pushing things down LGBTQ people's throats, and absolutely they complain all the time when LGBTQ plus people say they don't like it and just simply, in many cases, can't. And yeah, I do want equality. I do. And I don't think heterosexual people have had to deal like that. You don't have conversion therapy camps, okay? And you should really look into what some of those camps have done. Some of those camps have just been outright abuse, just abuse. It depends on what camp you're talking about, but no, this is vividly inappropriate. No. I think this is crazy. You know, this shows me like the sign of somebody who's just deeply out of touch with reality. I mean, just way out of touch. You please stop watching social media political commentators like Tim Poolhead and Jordan Peterson and Steven Crowder, because just unrealistic view of the world, unrealistic view of things that have actually happened, going on, history, all that. Like it just, yeah, no, like I don't know what privileges you think you get for being LGBTQ. I haven't seen any. I don't know what you're talking about. There aren't any. I do want equality because we don't have it yet. We don't. We really don't. And I think that story about the lesbian couple really shows that. We don't have equality. Okay. So, yeah. Like, share, subscribe, and comment. And yeah, I'm out.